Okay, we are live. Very dark. Let's see if I can fix that. That's a little bit better. So, our three little friends, Mr. Putin and the Korean dictator. Now it's very early here in Norway, so now I just forgot his name. I always mix it up with his grandfather, but you know the guy, the little blob in North Korea, and the guy who looks like Winnie the Pooh, the Chinese dictator Xi. They met in China, and they had, you know, the Chinese military parade. Hooray! And what a display of silliness that was. It always is. And we're going to talk about that. I have a theory concerning that whole thing that I'm willing to bet good money on that it is true. My theory will, if we had the ability to check, it would be proven to be correct. My theory. Mr. Sorpos and KP Heathen, good to see you. Good to see you all. So, help me out with the names here. You know, the North Korean dictator, and the Chi. What's the rest of his name? Yeah, and dictator Putin, of course. Now, um, so that was the Chinese display of power. I saw it on the news yesterday, and you had Mr. Chi in his car being driven down the aisle between his massive armies. Um, and I think that looked like AI, by the way, but that doesn't matter. I'm not saying they didn't have a military parade. Obviously, they did. And then we saw these tiny little men. The Chinese, they are very small, marching with they all had this very stern faces. You don't mess with those guys. No, very tough. And then you had the normal people, all dressed in white, sitting there with this brainwashed look at their face. What a fucking disgrace that is. The whole fucking dictatorship with, it's a disgrace. It's a display of what the worst of humanity. Um, yeah, so this is there's nothing new about this. This is how dictators show the people in their country, that they are great, they are powerful, they should be feared, and they are the greatest nation on the planet, and all of that. Now, of course, anyone who's critical will be put in jail. That's just how it works. Hi there, Craig, and cheers to you. And hi there, Linda. But I have, I want to talk about this, not just because it's so ridiculous to watch. These are people, they do not see themselves at all. They well, we have this expression like cringe. If that is not cringe, I don't know what is. So you had the soldiers doing their silly walk in front of the three dictators, and you had, of course, then the big rockets, nuclear bombs, or whatever it is. I don't know. I'm not an expert on stuff like that. But all these giant rockets, phallus shaped, being shown to the people while dictator Xi stands there and looking at his people. You know what I think? I think that those people, that those three dictators, they all are lacking in a certain department. I think that they are trying to compensate for something. I think that they have a very small, well, not one, but three, one on each of them, and it's very small. That's what I think. I think they're trying to compensate with their big rockets. You know, that's just my theory. That's my theory. That's my theory. Um, Confident of victory says, yeah, but look at Western moral decay. This is what we're going to talk about. It's a very dangerous way to think or not to think. So this is, I'll talk about the funny part of this first. Um, but thank you for reminding me there. So anyone who cares about freedom should look at that and be disgusted. And anyone who cares about individualism should look at that and be even more disgusted. Anyone who cares about empathy should be disgusted. And anyone who cares about decency should be equally disgusted. Now, we can laugh at these people, and we should. They should be ridiculed. I mean, I see it as our duty here in the somewhat still free world. We should ridicule those people in every possible way because that's what they deserve. They deserve only to be ridiculed. Um, and it's, yeah, as I said, it's our duty. So, in whatever way you can think of, please do ridicule those dictators and their armies and the little men in uniforms. Now, if you didn't know, I'm an anarchist. Theoretically, I'm not saying that anarchism could ever work, but theoretically, I am an anarchist. So naturally, I hate any means of anyone trying to decide what I can do, not do, as long as I'm not doing something irresponsible. Of course, that we talked about that before. So we need some rules in society. But when I see a big state, a display of the big state model, so to speak, like we saw, that's what the military parade is. It's a display of big state where you're just a cog in the machinery. That's all you are, and your purpose in life is to make sure that the machinery keeps turning. That's all. You're like an ant. That's all. And if someone steps on you, doesn't matter because there's another one that will take your place. So this is China. Now I've been to Russia. I haven't been to China, and of course, I mean, I'm not talking about the Chinese people in general. However, they do not get the information that we get. And I know it's popular to say that, oh, are you watching mainstream media? Oh, and all of that. Then you're brainwashed. Yeah. If you think that that's even comparable to the censorship and brainwashing that goes on in China and Russia, I don't know what to tell you. Um, so yeah, but North Korea obviously it's a state with complete mind control, complete censorship. it's horrible. Russia um, is also a dictator state, but I do believe that the people there do have more. They're not as brainwashed, if you will. And people are writing EU. You can't even compare EU to China when it comes to all of this. You need to be able to apply a scale here, a scale. So while the EU is absolutely moving towards China when it comes to censorship and mind control, brainwashing, and taking away of people's freedom, and while the USA is absolutely also moving towards China when it comes to taking away people's freedoms, none of those regimes, if you will, are even close to China yet. Far from fake says, brother, I've been to China. Having a smartphone isn't a personal choice. Yes, I know. I am originally from China and I hate the surveillance state. Yes. Yes. That's what people are telling me. Now, we are going to have to talk about the less fun part of this. We can point at little men in uniforms and laugh at them, and we should. But the idea that a lot of people seem to subscribe to these days is the following. The West, that being Europe, North America, and so on, is degenerate. Oh, look at the people in the pride parades. Oh, look at the pornography and all of that. So it's so degenerate. And look at the liberals and look at all of that. It's so degenerate. And from the USA comes this idea, which is a silly idea, that the USA is not a democracy. Now, the school system is not, in the USA, I've been told, is not really great when it comes to bringing perspectives, like global perspectives, to the students. I've even heard that it's optional to be taught world history. So instead, you can have American history. What the hell, So, but anyway, so I get that. We're not going to talk about that now, but it seems like a lot of. I will just say it seems like a lot of Americans believe that if you have a president and you have a constitution, you're not a democracy. A lot of countries are set up that way, and they are all democracies. Well, no, they're not all democracies, because some of them have become dictator states where they have mock elections. Now, the dangerous, the idea, as I said, oh, look at the West, so degenerate. Oh, look at the LGB, whatever people, so degenerate. Oh, look at all of these horrible things. We need we need a framework that will put people or set people straight. Now, look at China. Look at how brilliant all the kids in school are. They are learning maths and they are intelligent and disciplined and all of that. Yeah, I'm sure they are. But you really have to understand that it's a completely different system. You're not going to get rid of Mr. Xi and his cronies. They have seized power and they do not care about you or your well-being. Now you could say, oh, that is the same in Western countries. No, it really isn't. It really isn't, because of the democratic process. You can actually get rid of people. You can get rid of the American president and get another one in there. I get it. It's a two-party system. They're basically all bought up by big pharma, big tech, and the weapons industry. I understand that. But if we move ourselves out of the USA and we go to like my country, Europe, we are having an election. Is it this week? Is it tomorrow? Or maybe next week? I think maybe it's tomorrow. And we can get rid of people. We can get rid of the government, the present government, and get another one there. I, at this point, think that we will actually do that, and that will change. They will change some of the rules and regulations and the taxation, which is needed. Now, imagine if Norway was like China. You wouldn't ever be able to do that, ever. Well, you can do it through a revolution. You go and kill the people in power, and you get another bunch of bastards in there. So it's so important. Please do remember that while we have massive problems here in the West, pointing at China or Russia and saying that, well, we should do that, it kind of shows everyone that you don't know so much about the world or how the world is working. And I'm seeing that attitude more and more, and you know, and it's just sad, it's just sad. I hope nobody out there are looking at the military parade with these three fucking bastards standing there, Putin, Xi, and the little fatso. What's his name? Why can't I remember the name of the North Korea dictator? But anyway, I hope nobody's looking at that and thinking, oh, that they are great. They are so great. We should do that. Oh, Kim Jong-il. Yes, I always think about his grandfather for some reason. Jong-un. Yeah, Kim Jong-un. Little Kim. Let's just say Little Kim. Little Kim. The point is, I hope nobody is looking at that and thinking we should do that. Oh, then there wouldn't be any more pride parades. You know what? I don't care about pride parades. Well, actually, I do care. It's a different discussion. I don't think that it's okay with nudity or the sexual stuff there. I don't think that's okay at all. That's not a display of love. It's a display of something else. And that should not be out in the public space, in my opinion. But you know what? If I had to compare that, the Pride Parade, to the fucking military parade in China now, I would rather have Pride parades every day instead of one of those military parades every year. So that's just me, maybe. I don't know. Little Kim, yeah. So that's just how I see it. And there's this expression, fuck around and find out. And I think that if you do go towards Oh, democracy is part of the degeneracy. That's the attitude. We will instead have. I mean, the USA could be moving towards a theocracy, and if you then remove the democratic process, or you have a mock election like in Russia, then you're fucked basically. But I would actually not be surprised if that would happen. I don't think that will happen, but there are too many good, decent people in the USA for that to happen, I believe. Um, yeah, it's like when there is actually where I live here in this area in Norway. There are quite a lot of Russian people here, and I don't know why actually, but so Russian immigrants, and what a lot of them have been saying is that they are never going back because there is no freedom in Russia. You can't say what you want. You can't be critical towards Putin. And when they are saying that, I choose to listen to that. And I think we should. So, yeah, with a bit of dread, I will now be looking at the chat because I think at this time of the day and talking about democracy and so on, it tends to waken all the trolls. We will see. Yeah, Lucy. Yeah, Trump had a he had a military parade, didn't he? Yeah, that was properly ridiculed here in Norway. I can tell you that. Synth says they all work together. Wake up. Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's everything's a conspiracy, isn't it? Yeah, Andrew says that's what I hear every time I meet Russian immigrants as well. They always say they miss their families and some aspects, but they have no intention of returning. Yeah. Wolf Odin is here, so he will be hunting the trolls. Yeah, the UK is interesting stealth mode. It's I should have mentioned the UK because it's absolutely moving towards China, and it's happening fast now, very fast, with the censorship, with the thing where you can actually get the police on your door and they have come to check your thinking if you have written like something critical towards immigrants or immigration. If you protest against Israel, you can be put in jail. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Kim Jong Il, little Kim, he has a sister. It's like he's like this perfect Bond villain, and the Bond villain, little Kim, is the perfect Bond villain, and the sister is like the sadistic woman who she will go and do the killing, and she will do the dirty work like a psychopath, you know. Yeah, the Chinese. Yes, they are one of the other. Chinese are super racist. Yes, I think I saw a list of the most racist countries on the globe. And China, and I think, was it Saudi Arabia on top? On the bottom there was European countries. Oh yeah, Graham Linehan. That's the guy who wrote the Father Ted TV series. He was arrested in London. He criticized the trans thing. Okay, yeah, doesn't surprise me. I know he was arrested again. Yeah. Anyone has seen? Are there anyone here who has seen Father Ted? It's very blasphemous. Yeah, that was a great show. Yeah, Derek. Yes, I'm Irish, so yeah, yeah. I love the scene where with the Chinese people outside the window, and so then Father Ted is now he's a racist now. Yeah. So okay. Let's see. So Wolf Odin says China is a very old civilization. Is it possible the longer a civilization or culture goes, the more humanity you lose? Just a thought. That is interesting. You could say that maybe it's almost in the DNA of the Chinese people that they are used to or supposed to exist in a system where they are just a cog in the machinery, because they had the emperors before the Cultural Revolution, and then they had the revolution and communism took over. Then you had, of course, the not the genocide, but it has a name. The great, well, basically they moved a lot of people and they starved to death. So it was one of the, I think, most lethal changes in a society ever. And then, of course, you basically, with the Communist Party, what happened there is what always happened with communism. The people on top just takes all the wealth, and they take all the wealth and property away from people. That's communism for you. Far from fake. Ever since the Cultural Revolution, we lost a lot of our culture. Yeah, since you are from China, you are the expert here. I'm not. So is my idea is that the Chinese people have been conditioned for so many generations to exist in this giant system where they don't have a say. So maybe that's maybe even ingrained in the DNA. I don't know. And I think that a good test here, so this is a good test. Whenever anyone feels like comparing your country to a proper dictator state, and you want to say, this is, I would have more freedom in Russia. Try to write something very critical of your government or the people in power on social media and see what happens. Let's say I write about, I wouldn't really do that, but if I wrote something like um, the the Norwegian Prime Minister is an idiot and he should be removed from power and is corrupt, nothing would happen. Nothing would happen. Oh yeah, Synth says, try to write anything against wokeism on social media in the West. I've done it so many times. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. I can write on social media that, well, hold on, what is it? Trans women. I always get it wrong. Trans women are men. Like someone who was born a man and then lives as a woman. That's a trans woman, right? So I could write on Facebook, trans women are men. Nothing would happen. Nothing. Try to go to Russia. No, don't do this, but try to go to Russia or China and write on social media, Xi or Putin is corrupt, an idiot, and should be removed from power. Now, they might not catch it straight away, but try to do it a few times and see what happens. Now, don't do that because you would get in trouble. So you see, there is a massive problem here. There is a massive difference, excuse me. There's a massive difference. And we need to keep that perspective in mind. Okay, so we have a Chinese friend here, so which we should listen to, obviously. He says, you know what's crazy? If you really criticize hard on your status, then you cannot take transports, you can't buy food, and you can be banned for a lot of things. My friend told me around 5 years. Crazy. Yeah. So it's like, this is, don't get me wrong, this is not, I'm not trying to make excuses or anything like that for the censorship that we are seeing here in the West. But it's not correct to say that it's as bad as China. That I see some people are writing that, or even, we would have more freedom in China. No, you wouldn't. I'm pretty sure you would not. In China, you would probably be okay if you wrote, what did I say? It's just an example. Trans women are men. You'd probably be okay because that doesn't go against the official narrative, I would guess. But as I said, if you write, well, President Xi is a dictator and he has a little and his penis is tiny. And if you keep doing that, you'll probably get in trouble. You know. I think it is, by the way. I think he's trying to compensate for that with the display of the big rockets. So yeah, that's my theory. Same with Putin and little Kim. Someone with what to me looks like Chinese letters. I don't know. Says hello, King. Now I don't know if that's a bot. Sorry, I have to say it, but I don't know because that's a typical bot comment. Uh, if you're not a bot, then please let us know. So yeah. Now let's see here. Quality of life in China is much better than before. That's true, but freedom not there. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. Now I'm all things considered, I am very happy that I live in Norway. I am. Um, we have a high degree of freedom here. Um, what is freedom? I think freedom is many things goes into that, and there is ranking of the most free countries on the planet, and now of course I, I saw I saw that ranking, and I disagree with a lot of that because it's said like Ireland is was almost on the top, I think, and Scandinavian countries on top, of course, but Ireland was pretty dystopic, and so on during COVID. They kind of shut everything down and said you can't do this, you can't do that, and that needs to be taken into consideration, I believe, when you're looking at how free a country really is. So Sweden, I would agree, Sweden is a very free country because they didn't go crazy during COVID. They still rolled out vaccines, and I don't fucking care if they close down the channel. I'm going to say it straight out. Now, a lot of people, of course, have gotten sick from the vaccines. Um, and and yeah, that's a different topic, I guess. Um, let's see here. Yeah, here's the thing. I says Arnie's name is riding back. I don't. What does that mean? I'm sorry, but if you are not a bot and you have some language issues, then please just let us know. I'm very sorry about the bot thing, and it's it shouldn't be like that. Um, so now, Green-Eyed Lady says, I saw a video of 20 UK policemen running to a sandwich shop to arrest customers who were ordering bacon sandwiches and waving English flags. Yeah, I do not doubt that, but I will say that I know for a fact that a lot of the stuff that is posted on social media now concerning the protests, the flag protests in the UK, A lot of that is either edited in such a way that it doesn't it takes things a little bit out of context, or actually there is AI. I've seen an AI version of the Scottish girl with the axe and the knife, and very soon we won't be able to tell the AI apart. Well, actually, we are there already. Won't be able. We're not able to really tell AI apart from the real thing. So, and it's a shame because it makes you doubt everything in the UK. Are the police really that bad? I think they are, but it's difficult to tell because with the AI, it means that you can't trust anything that you see on social media anymore. Yeah. So far from fake says it's ridiculous to believe you had it bad during the Great Cough. My parents had it bad in China. Yeah, I guess they had. China was the worst during COVID. I didn't notice any difference here in Norway because it wasn't really that harsh. But what I did notice, of course, was the hate. Now, I was quite open about the fact that I chose not to get the so-called vaccine, and I received a lot of hate for that. And yeah, I will never forget those people. Those people, if ever you have like a totalitarian system or state taking over your country, like communism, fascism, theocracy, with strict rules, those same people who thought it would be a good idea to put you in prison or quarantine, as they call it, if you didn't get the vaccine. Those same people will be right there with the ropes and the guns to make sure that everyone falls in line. That's the kind of people, and 99% or 95% of the rest of the population will just look another way. That that's the sad truth. So yeah, I made some notes, actual notes, about which people were very open about what should happen to the unvaccinated. Either so they would say, put them in prison, right? Some said, kill them. I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. If you choose not to get vaccinated, you should be killed. I never thought I would hear that, but yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Now this is by the way, this is a good example of why we should not have direct democracy. Direct democracy is the following: three people are sitting in a lifeboat and they are starving, and they vote. If and they vote, should we eat? Should we eat that guy? So the two other guys, they vote, yes, we should eat him. and they have 60. They obviously they have 66.6666% of the votes. So that's direct democracy for you. So they eat the other guy, and he voted against being eaten. So that, and direct democracy is there's a reason why I'm against it. Like during the madness, the COVID madness, if we had had direct democracy then, and direct democracy, by the way, is actually what we do call it. And I guess that's, yeah, I won't get into the discussion with the Americans who think that they don't have a democracy. But direct democracy during COVID would have been catastrophic. It would have been catastrophic, because then the popular vote, if you will, or the majority is more correct to say, the majority would have voted to put the unvaccinated in jail. I don't think that they would have voted for killing us, but to be put in jail indefinitely, absolutely. Absolutely. So that's why we have a constitution. That's why we have human rights. Because people are idiots. People are idiots sometimes. So Jarle says, a problem with direct democracy is that people would ask AI for their opinion. Yeah, they would. They would. Concerning a third world war, conflict with Ukraine, yeah, of course I've had conversations with my close family about that. And I don't think it's okay or wise to share my plans on social media. And I will say that anyone who thinks that, well, if Russia tries to invade Norway, you need to go and fight. You should fight. You should accept to become a soldier and fight. I think if you believe that that's a good idea, then good luck. Good luck with that. Yeah. I will not do that. I will try to get away from the whole thing. So, okay. Free Will Burning says we are a republic here in the States. Democracy is just common sense. Yeah, many other countries are republics. Finland is a republic. Iceland is a republic. Which other? Yeah, it's when you have a constitution, you have a democratic process to elect people, to elect representatives, and you do not have a monarchy. So that's quite normal. I think the monarchies need to be gone. That's a thing of the past. Okay, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed. Um, I have a video on the main channel for this weekend, as always. Please check that out. And there's a link to my main channel in the video description.